It's Messi! It is the cleanest of clean finishes from the best on the planet.
It's time for the biggest sports stories.
Liverpool, the champions of Europe, on top of the world.
The biggest interviews.
That such a great spectacle is ruined by such thuggish behavior.
And all the analysis right here.
He's the one player that has the arrogance to think that he can play in any stadium in the world and any pitch in the world in front of any player in the world and take them on.
Every weekday, it's my sport, it's your sport. It's ZiFM Sport. Let's join the team for the biggest show in the world of sport on ZiFM Stereo. My station, your station.
All right, Alois is here, Mike is here, Chris is here, Sean, our producer, is here, and I'm here. My name is Barry. That means we're all ready to go for this Manic Monday edition of ZiFM Sport. What you can look forward to is that on the home front, Zimbabwe was represented on the podium in yesterday's Styrian Grand Prix in Austria as Petronas trackside engineer for Mercedes. Stephanie Travers was the first black woman to stand on the Formula One podium alongside Mercedes race winner Lewis Hamilton. In international sports news, in New Zealand, the Canterbury Crusaders saw off an intense challenge from the Auckland Blues in a furious final quarter to complete a 26-15 victory in their vital Super Rugby Aotearoa clash in Christchurch on Saturday. And in England, West Indies captain Jason Holder praised his side after victory over England and said day 4 at the Ageas Bowl was his best in Test cricket.
And around the world in 60, we tee off in Ohio where Colin Morikawa edged out Justin Thomas on the third playoff hole to clinch victory after a captivating final day of the inaugural Workday Charity Open. Crossing over to Florida, LA Lakers guard Rajon Rondo suffered a broken right thumb in practice last night in Orlando and is expected to return to full basketball activities in 6 to 8 weeks, the team announced. And we touched down in Brussels where David Goffin has revealed he's unsure if he'll travel to New York next month to take part in the US Open due to the rise in coronavirus cases in the city.
A manic Monday it is, so we got 2 musical interludes, one to kick off the show, our power play, and then the play of the day, which comes at halftime. The second half of the show is always the beautiful game, and the big news out of the world of football is that Manchester City will play in the Champions League next season after the Court of Arbitration for Sport lifted the club's 2-year ban from European competitions. In the Premier League, Mikel Arteta was left to rue Arsenal's 2-1 defeat to Tottenham, claiming the game was ours, while Jose Mourinho has his sights set on the Europa League. In La Liga, Lionel Messi has proved he has 20/20 vision by pulling off a stunning feat that's only ever been done by one other footballing great. We'll find out what that is a bit later on, and then we'll wrap it up in Italy, where Gianpiero Gasperini was proud of Atalanta after a 2-2 draw with Juventus, but felt his side deserved the win.
The Warriors, the Chevrons, the Cheetahs, the Mighty Warriors, and the Sables. From the pool to the track to the field, we are Team Zimbabwe. The Home Front. Local sports news and analysis.
Our power play there, right on message, talking about a woman, because our first story talks about a woman who's doing the nation proud. Don't forget that you can reach us on our social media platforms. That is at Mike Madoda, at Sean Tafirinika, at Chris Midzi, at Gazaman14 for Alois, at Mark Pozzo, and I'm at Barry Manandi. But the one you should remember and always follow is at ZiFM Sport. Let's get into the story about that Zimbabwean woman doing us proud. While we were represented as a nation on the podium in yesterday's Styrian Grand Prix in Austria, as Petronas trackside engineer for Mercedes, Stephanie Travers, was the first black woman to stand on the Formula One podium alongside Mercedes race winner Lewis Hamilton. After a dominant win, Hamilton clenched his right fist in the air when he got out of his car, and then again on the podium, where he also got Travers to join him in the powerful message of Black Power Salute. For a sport that is dominated by men, the success of Stephanie Travers has sent a whole wave of joy and energy, not just in Zimbabwe, but around the continent. The chemical engineer graduate has definitely broken a glass ceiling and will inspire young girls and women to pursue their dreams. Chris, I can only start with you on this one, because it certainly is a point of privilege and pride, not only for black people, because she is one of the only woman of color in her position throughout the sport, but added to that, the first Zimbabwean to stand on a Formula One podium. This is a serious point of pride.
A serious point of pride, and also just a reflection of just what we can achieve as human beings, as Zimbabweans. And I think it's a timely reminder that we are capable, especially with everything going on in our sport, in the country in general. I think it's really great that she, first of all, managed to do this. There were 7,000 other applicants for this particular position, and to come out of that top, you have Toto Wolff saying that she's a perfect fit for the Mercedes team. I think it's incredible, and it's just a reflection of what we're capable of as Zimbabweans. And I'm hopeful that this is going to inspire other young women as well to follow, first of all, chemical engineering, male-dominated field, and then to go and make it in Formula One once again, another triumph, and just a testament to what she can do as a woman. And she's only 26 years old, so we're still to see more from her.
A lot more to be seen from her. As a team, Mercedes is sort of hitting the right notes, because at the start of this season, we saw them dump their silver color mic in favor of black, and that insignia that said "Stop Racism," in support of Black Lives Matter movement. And then obviously both their drivers, Bottas, wearing black tracksuits in support of Black Lives Matter. And then they've got a black woman in their team and in a senior position on the team. They're cutting the right notes, is Toto Wolff and Mercedes.
Yeah, absolutely, Barry. For me, two things stand out. The first one being that preparation meets opportunity. She isn't just a woman who's there because she's a woman. She was ready for this because she studied for it. She's well qualified for the job, so she's there on merit. No one did her any favors. She went through the rigorous process of selecting someone to do the job that she does. And of course, Barry, her job is to provide the team with a comprehensive suite of fluid support services. So this is a critical component of the team that's down in the pits on race day, and even in the week leading up to race day, as the teams prepare, as they practice, and then ultimately in qualifying. So she's a big part of that team, a very influential part of that team. So this is not a post where Mercedes would take any chances, but by just doing something for the PR, as it were. This is a critical position in which the best person for the job was chosen. And so I like to point out that she was well qualified for the post, she was ready for the job, and she's been given the post. So kudos to her for doing that. And that's something that I want to encourage, I think, a lot of young women out there, to discard the affirmative action. Affirmative action always means that you lose some respect, because there's a hint of tokenism about it, that you want to be given things on a silver platter. She's gone out, she's made sure that she's well qualified, that she can compete, and more than compete, she can beat men to the job. Because of these 7,000 applicants, I can bet you that probably 95, if not 98% of the applicants would have been men. So she's shown that she can compete at that level and beat men to the best of jobs in Formula One. So kudos to her. For me, I give her credit. I give her 100% credit. And thanks to Mercedes for the symbolism in Austria yesterday afternoon. That would not have been lost on those people who are fighting for equal rights between races and for black people to be given more of an opportunity. The fact that she's a woman merely accentuates the symbolism, but credit to Mercedes for moving with the times and for realizing that, you know what, even small gestures of this nature make a loud enough statement in this fight.
Is there a lesson to be learned here, Alois, for Zimbabwean sport, just to expand the discussion, for Zimbabwean sport generally? Because I think what we do is that we generally grab the people who are available and put them in the positions, and then hope that they catch up and are able to do the job, rather than finding the best people for the job and putting them in those jobs. Stephanie was the best person, or is the best person for the particular job at Mercedes. Should this be a lesson to sport in Zimbabwe generally, to say we need to put the best people in the best positions and then we'll get the best results?
Yes, very. You are very right, about this kind of situation. It's happening in Zimbabwean sport where you find that we have people that are doing jobs that they're not good at, and it doesn't help anybody. It affects efficiency, because if you want efficiency, if you want things to go well, you really need to look for people that are designed, people that are good for the job, and put them in the place. If you want a secretary general, look for somebody who is going to do that. If you want a CEO, look for somebody who you know that is going to do the job for you. You want a marketing executive, look for somebody who's going to do the job. Don't just surround yourselves with people that are yes men, or that just like you, or that you like, and then you think things are going to work. That's exactly what is happening in Zimbabwean sport, and it needs to change. Employ people that are good at what they do.
Well, Stephanie is definitely not a token out at the Silver Arrows, because albeit that she was born in Harare in 1994, she went on to attain a Bachelor of Engineering in Chemical Engineering degree at the University of Bradford. And then she now holds a Master of Science in Chemical Engineering. That's from Imperial College. And she's worked at asset care engineer, as an asset care engineer at BASF, and then as a project manager at Polygen before taking up her position with the Silver Arrows of Mercedes. Winning the Grand Prix, we'll be talking about them later on in the show, but certainly Stephanie Travers, holding the Zimbabwean flag aloft and flying it high.
Hi, this is Alexandra Maseko, and I'm the national basketball team captain, and you're listening to ZiFM Sport.
Z.
Let's give you a local sports news roundup, starting with rugby, where the Zimbabwe Rugby Union has taken the first steps towards dispersing the 5,000 euros received from Rugby Africa, with a huge chunk going towards clubs and players, while the rest will go towards procuring the required personal protective equipment as recommended by the Sports and Recreation Commission. At a handover ceremony held at ZRU President Aaron Jani's Milton Park offices on Saturday, the union revealed that 3,000 euro of the grant has gone into the relief of players, coaches and clubs, while 2,000 will be used to buy personal protective equipment required for the safe return of the sport. Part of the 3,000 euros has been used to purchase 243 bags of mealie meal and 181 food hampers. Hockey news, a Welsh-based national team and Mufakos Eradicators field hockey player Robert Musa has succeeded in convincing the Welsh Football Trust to help conduct UEFA coaching courses in Zimbabwe. Musa, through his organization, Zimbabwe Newport Volunteering Association, in partnership with the Welsh FA, had initially planned to hold the UEFA C, B and A badges in Zimbabwe this year, but the dates have now been moved due to the coronavirus pandemic. We wrap it up with squash news, where Zimbabwe's squash budding star Ryan Gwidzima, who was supposed to be furthering his career at Wycliffe College in the United Kingdom, has seen his progress being halted by the coronavirus pandemic. Gwidzima flew home at the end of March and has been with his family since then. The 14-year-old was in the process of completing year 9 in the United Kingdom, when he was forced to return home. Wycliffe College continued to school him through e-learning, which meant he completed his first year of high school.
Hi, this is Mike Madoda, and you can catch me and the team for all the latest breaking news out of the world of sport, local as well as international, on your favorite station, my station, your station, ZiFM. We are Z-Team on ZiFM Sport.
Z. From the front of the grid to the back of the net, it's ZiFM Sport. International Sports News Roundup, where the world comes out to play.
If you enjoy your music, don't miss out on our play of the day a bit later on, and also the beautiful game where we shall be picking apart that verdict coming out of the Court for Arbitration of Sport, where Manchester City has been let off the hook, meaning that they will be competing in the UEFA Champions League. Get to hear the thoughts of the team in studio. But before we get there, we got some international sports news for you, cricket and rugby. But we'll kick off with the rugby, where the Canterbury Crusaders saw off an intense challenge from the Auckland Blues in a furious final quarter to complete a 26-15 victory in their vital Super Rugby Aotearoa clash in Christchurch on Saturday. The home side have now won all 4 of their Super Rugby Aotearoa matches and ended the Blues' 7-game winning streak across both Super Rugby and local competition. Let's hear from Crusaders winning captain, Cody Taylor.
80 minutes. The first half, we're under a lot of pressure. We knew that they were going to come and put us under a lot of pressure in terms of territory, and they did that. And they were on top for most of the game, really. And we just knew that if we came out in the second half and just won those little moments, we'd get the job done. And just really proud of the boys' efforts to dig deep there. We're trying to play a little more. These boys aren't small, and they were banging us behind the gain line in that first half. And we thought we just needed to go back to what we're good at, and the set piece stuff, and just try and work hard to get through that and get over the gain line, and we did that. We saw it as a test match, really. It's pretty much our mindset the whole week. We just knew that they were coming down here, they have a lot of confidence and they're playing bloody good footy, and we had to be on our best, and they put us on a lot of pressure, like I said, so just happy we got the job done.
Barry, what an absolutely humdinger of a game, thrilling encounter, intense game featuring two of the best sides in New Zealand.
It certainly was, and we didn't expect anything less than that. We actually, in our preview on Friday, we said that the Crusaders weren't going to have it all their own way. I think we all tipped them to win. Less of a margin as they ultimately achieved. You, I think, were closest in, I think you said by 10, I think, or was it by 7? But by nonetheless, 10. By 10, yeah. So it ended up being by 11. So you were closest in that regard. So, but a fantastic game of rugby. However, I think the Canterbury Crusaders, the lesson we can draw from this is the same thing the inference we've drawn right from the start of Super Rugby Aotearoa, and that is that the Canterbury Crusaders are best emblematic. They look the most like the All Blacks. In other words, the Crusaders play 80 minutes of rugby, and that's what it was, because that late charge, that late surge is what got them over the line.
And 17 unanswered points, Chris, in the last 20 minutes. We saw a similar onslaught from the Crusaders the previous weekend when they played against the Highlanders. The Highlanders well in the game for 60 minutes, matching the Crusaders pound for pound. The Blues did exactly that. They matched the Crusaders pound for pound. And then in the last 20 minutes, they were completely blown out of the water as the Crusaders stuck 17 unanswered points past them.
Definitely, and I think that's what's testament of this Crusaders side is that incredible ability to come back in that second half and completely blow away the Blues. Having taken a look, the Blues were on a 7-game winning streak. They were playing incredibly good football, rugby, and then coming into this match,
they call it football in New Zealand, so
they call it footy, exactly.
Footy. Playing some good footy, and I honestly thought that they were good for the money for this one. And it's not that the Blues were a bad team, it's not that they didn't hold their own in this match, but the Crusaders were just that much stronger, especially where it counted the most in those last few minutes where they needed to get all those points on the board.
And the man who was the catalyst, Barry, Richie Mo'unga.
Richie Mo'unga, again, a phenomenal show. Trustworthy with the boot, his decision-making outstanding, his ability to dictate the tempo of the game as well. Absolutely great performance by Richie Mo'unga, but we wouldn't have expected any less. I mean, he's even since the restart of rugby, let's call it a restart, albeit that it's a new competition altogether, he's been absolutely phenomenal. Again, if we're pointing out players, I wanted to get your thoughts on a man that you identified to us and said that, watch this boy. And yet again, albeit that he came off the bench, Will Jordan, my God.
Yeah, Will Jordan, Barry, absolutely fun. But the right decision was made, isn't it, in hindsight? Yes. Because he was benched in a game that a lot of people thought he should start. But the right decisions were made. He came in, he had an impact, and he scored the try that put the game beyond the reach of the Auckland Blues. So those are some of the options, Barry, we're talking about when we talk about a new All Blacks team that we're going to see in October competing in international rugby. There are going to be several new faces who are competing at the level of the old guard, if not better. So this is something that world rugby, the rest of world rugby is going to be very wary of, the new faces that are coming in, the production mill. Whereas you take a look at all the other countries, all you are seeing are sort of like you hear the same old names. see the same old faces. They don't have that production mill. The All Blacks can field 2 or 3 teams that can compete at almost the same level. So it's going to be scary for a lot of teams. Now, there was another game of rugby played, and yesterday, TJ Perenara, Corbus van Wyk and Devon Flanders crossed for tries as the Hurricanes defeated the Otago Highlanders 17-11. What does it mean for Super Rugby Aotearoa as far as the standings are concerned? The Crusaders 4 out of 4. 18 points. They now have a 6-point lead over the second placed Blues, who are on 12 points. The Hurricanes have got their act together and they are now tugging at the coattails of the Blues. They have 8 points from their 4 matches. The Highlanders have got 6 points from 4 matches played. And at the rear, the Chiefs, who are winless but with 3 bonus points. What does it mean? It means that this weekend's fixtures are absolutely critical. The Hurricanes will entertain the Blues in Wellington. If the Hurricanes can win that one, the Blues will have their work cut out when they look like one of the favourites to get into that final. And then the Otago Highlanders and the Waikato Chiefs will square up in a game that the Hurricanes, in which the Highlanders know that they have to win if they are to keep pace, and the Chiefs if they are to get into the competition. Super Rugby AU results. The Waratahs beat the Force 23-14. There was a tie, like we told you on Friday, between the Rebels and the Reds. Your weekend fixtures this coming weekend, the Reds take on the Western Force, whilst the New South Wales Waratahs will welcome the Brisbane Brumbies to Sydney.
On to cricket news, where West Indies captain Jason Holder praised his side after victory over England and said day 4 at the Ageas Bowl was his best in Test cricket. The tourists, led by a superb 95 from Jermaine Blackwood, sealed a famous 4-wicket win after tea on the final day in Southampton, but it was the previous day that most pleased Holder.
Yeah, it's right up there with one of the best victories that we've had as a group. To me, yesterday was probably the best day I've had in Test cricket. You know, it was a hard, long toil, and the bowlers really put in. You know, every time I asked the bowler to come up and give a spell, they came out tramps to give a massive effort. So credit must be given to everyone yesterday. I think yesterday was a hard-fought day of Test cricket, and we really reaped the rewards at the very end. I don't think any of the teams actually knew, what would play out. To be honest, it's been a long layoff. We've been sat at home doing nothing, just trying to wait out this COVID period. We just got the opportunity to play. I felt we had enough time to prepare, but still mentally and on the back of your minds, you're never quite sure. But it's still good to see that we have everybody on the park still. I know John took a blow this evening, but hopefully he's got a few days to get over it, and hopefully we get him back on the park. It's just the willpower. We knew what was at stake. We knew how important yesterday evening was, particularly. We knew we had 98 overs to bowl in the day, and at the end of the day, it was quite likely that we would go to 7 o'clock. So I was just doing it in time. Myself, Kimar, we picked up the ball on, myself and I think it was Azari, we picked up and we said we were going to bowl till 6:30, and then the other two will come back and finish, after we took the second new ball. But it's just willpower. We knew that if we got the wickets yesterday evening, it would have made the job a lot easier, and we could at least push for a win today. Had England probably batted out yesterday in a much more commanding position, it would have been difficult to push for a win. But credit to our bowlers again. Every single time I asked the bowlers to come and give an effort, they ran in, they gave everything, on a very far pitch.
You know what? A lot of things that we can talk about in terms of the return of sport and each of the sporting disciplines in this restart phase after the coronavirus pandemic lockdowns and break in transmission as pertains to sport, Mike. But this return of cricket has been absolutely perfect. Test cricket, number 1. Number 2, the test match that goes to day 5. And number 3, one that had an absolutely scintillating end.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a good advertisement for the return of the game, and kudos to the West Indies winning this game. I think that they made the right decisions over the course of 5 days. You take a look at the fact that Ben Stokes didn't exactly cover himself in glory. He won the toss. He elected to bat when he should have sent the West Indies in to bat. It was cloudy, overcast conditions on the south coast, and he should have taken advantage of that. And testament to that, Barry, is the substandard 204 that England made, batting first on that wicket, and West Indies going on to make 318, meaning that they had a lead of over 100 heading into the second inning. So Ben Stokes you can tell that, listen, he's trying to captain the side in the manner in which he plays the game. And that's not always the best way to go forward. You might be a gung-ho, adventurous player, but when it comes to captaincy, you've got to use your head and make the right decisions. You can't be adventurous when it comes to captaincy. And so that was a big fail on his part. And I thought on the other end, the captain of the West Indies, Barry, he was absolutely fantastic. The reviews, I mean, I spoke to you over the weekend and I said, you know what, I've never seen a captain nail the reviews the way that Holder did, because there were 3 critical decisions that were made all against the West Indies. He reviewed all 3 and he got all 3 correct. Because had he not done that, I think the West Indies might have even struggled to actually score 200. So his captaincy, on the other hand, was absolutely spot on. But in terms of winning the game, day 4, 3rd session, there's a spell in which the West Indies, I think, took 5 wickets for 30 runs. The big wicket of Ben Stokes, and then 4 more wickets after that. That is really what knocked the wind out of England's sails, and they failed to post any meaningful score that the West Indies weren't able to chase down on the 5th day.
And Jason Holder himself, very complimentary of that bowling effort on day 4. But day 5 was when they completed and finished the job, Chris. And albeit that both teams were in their lily whites, they still had the mantra, Black Lives Matter, printed on their jerseys. And fittingly, it was a certain Jermaine Blackwood, a young man with a piece of wood in his hand, scoring 95 on a day when he needed to score the 95. Unfortunately, he didn't get a century, but you've got to say that performance probably cemented the win.
Definitely, and him coming out and posting that kind of score for the West Indies is exactly what the West Indies needed to do, in terms of even just the way the captain, Jason Holder, the way he was leading from the front. I think that also just put a little bit of fire in the bellies of the other players as well, to ensure that they managed to get this one over the line. It's not one that people expected them to, especially considering England's ranking at the moment, but they managed to do it, and especially on that last day. And with the Black Lives Matter as well, I think just kind of poignant in terms of the times we are at the moment.
Indeed. And second test starts on Thursday at Old Trafford. Jason Holder earning the respect of the cricketing world. I stress again, earning it based on how he's captaining that West Indies side.
Hi, my name is Sean Williams, Zimbabwe cricket captain. You're listening to ZiFM Sport.
Z. Around the world in 60 seconds. International sports news.
Around the World in 60 is proudly brought to you by DSTV. We take off in Ohio, where Colin Morikawa edged out Justin Thomas on the 3rd playoff hole to clinch victory over a captivating final day of the inaugural Workday Charity Open. Thomas had looked odds-on favourite to wrap up the win at Murfield Village after he recovered from a ragged start with 4 straight birdies around the turn, and a thrilling eagle at the 15th lifted him 3 clear with 3 to play. But he bogeyed 16 and could not match Morikawa's birdie at the 17th, and a wayward drive led to a 4th drop shot of the round and the tournament for Thomas, as he completed a 69 for a score of 19 under, with Morikawa forcing extra holes as he signed for a 66. We head over to Florida, where LA Lakers guard Rajon Rondo suffered a broken right thumb in practice last night in Orlando and is expected to return to full basketball activities in 6 to 8 weeks, the team announced. Rondo will undergo surgery to repair the fracture this week, the team said. The Lakers traveled to Orlando on Thursday night for the resumption of the 2019-2020 NBA season and practiced for the first time on Saturday. Rondo, who signed with the Lakers in 2018, twice missed time during the 2018-19 season after undergoing separate surgeries to repair a fractured 3rd metacarpal in his right hand and a torn ligament in his right ring finger. We touched down in Brussels, where David Goffin has revealed he's unsure if he'll travel to New York next month to take part in the US Open due to the rise in coronavirus cases in the city. Patrick Moratoglu has already said that plans for the tournament to go ahead in September are a bit crazy, especially with the recent spike in cases in America. And speaking at the Ultimate Tennis Showdown event in France, Belgian star Goffin agreed with Serena Williams' coach.
Hi, my name is Rune Shamba, Mytoria's super striker. You're listening to ZiFM Sports.
The big leagues, the big teams, The big players. The beautiful game on ZiFM Sport.
There's no better place to kick off the beautiful game than with the big news that came out earlier today. At about 10:30 Zimbabwe time, Manchester City confirmed that they will play in the Champions League next season after the Court of Arbitration for Sport lifted the club's 2-year ban from European football. City were handed the suspension by UEFA's club financial control body in February for serious breaches of club licensing and financial fair play regulations. The CFCB said City had overstated sponsorship revenue in their accounts and in the break-even information submitted to UEFA between 2012 and 2016 and for failing to cooperate with its investigation. This news here that's come in, Alois Munjira, Man City back in the Champions League. Well, does the overturning of the sanction that was handed out in February, does it surprise you?
Yeah, not really. I had a feeling that it was going to overturn because I haven't seen really clubs that have been heavily sanctioned for that. 2-year suspension, I thought it was too heavy. They could have gone for a fine or something like that, or a suspended sentence. But for 2 years, I didn't see that happen. That was too big a punishment. But I should say I'm happy that Man City are back in contention because they are a Champions League club. We want to see Manchester City always competing in the Champions League. It was a big dent for some of us, and even for Pep. We want Pep to stay in England, and Manchester City suspension could actually have had an effect on him as well. He could have been thinking of moving away. Pep without Champions League football, I thought that was not going to be a very good bonus for him. He was going to think about moving somewhere else. So I'm happy that this has been overturned and Man City to be competing. And I know a lot of other people are not happy because they were eyeing that number 5 spot, but it is what it is.
Chris, one of the things that Man City came out and said initially was that this was prejudicial. They felt that, UEFA was being unfair to them. Alois just now stating that they're not the first club to have flouted financial fair play regulations. We haven't seen any punishments that have been meted out to some of the teams that have done so in years gone by. So Man City perhaps feeling justified and to celebrate this ruling this morning.
Definitely. I think it was a situation where UEFA almost wanted to make an example and they chose Manchester City to do so. Unfortunately for them, the ruling was then overturned by the Court of Arbitration for Sport. But I think it just shows kind of the system that these newer teams are operating in. That's not necessarily, if you look at financial fair play as a whole, it's not necessarily beneficial to the newer teams that don't have as much history, as much traction, as much money as the older teams who now, obviously, if you were to institute financial fair play rules, these guys have already had time to build up in terms of finances, in terms of their own financial systems. They've had time to build them up. So I think Manchester City is just a victim of a system that wanted to make an example to other teams to say, this is what happens when you flout the rules. And that ruling that they had made themselves was, like Alois said, it was a bit overbearing and a bit over the top.
Barry, Manchester City, obviously, they will feel vindicated. And Chris makes the point there that when you take a look at financial fair play, it's very much weighted against the teams that are trying to make headway now. The aristocrats have had years and years and years to build a head start. And now it looks like this is a system that's designed to frustrate the chasing pack and make sure that they are never able to catch up. What do we do now with financial fair play in light of this latest UEFA ruling? Does it survive in your estimation? What happens to the credibility of UEFA? Because this is, to use a term very popular in Zimbabwe, this is a catch and release, isn't it?
It almost is a catch and release, but what I think it is more is a learning opportunity. Does it survive? I think if it does survive, it's got to survive in a different format altogether, a format that is clearer and looks less like protectionism and actually is more focused on what they claim financial fair play was all about. When they released it, they said that financial fair play was to ensure that teams are sustainable. So it's got to look like a sustainable model. And I think that there's a lot they can do to make it more of a sustainable model. If it survives. In my view, I don't think it survives after this. I think it is a bit of a nonsense in the sense that there's already an issue around financial fair play. Let me give you an example whereby teams in England, the team that comes last in the Premier League is earning more than some of the clubs who've won the leagues in other countries are earning, possibly even in the top 5 leagues. So already, is that not an unfair advantage, as it were? Do we then go down and say broadcasters can only pay so much for leagues? No. I say, if it's attractive, if a team is attractive, if a league is attractive, let them earn the money that they have. And if they get success as a result, that's the benefit to them. Let's all go. If Newcastle comes on board, gets the investors, gets the money in, gets the players, gets into the Champions League, wins the Champions League, that's all good. It's great for competition.
Can I suggest this, Barry? And I want to hear your thoughts on this one. What do you think of a salary cap, American style? Because we see it working in American sport where they say, okay, if we are to provide inner regulation financially to franchises, we give you a salary cap. So it means that you can only pay your squad this amount per season. How you do the maths in between, who gets what, who's paid what, really doesn't matter. But everyone's the wage bill has got to fit into a certain amount. Would that be a system that works in European football in light of already, Barry, the voices that have come out and said these footballers are earning way too much in the first place?
That definitely would work. And I think those are some of the adjustments that they can think of if they want this thing to survive. Because then what you're looking at is a season, a sustainability for a season, and ultimately that translates into long term. One of the things that it'll immediately solve is the fact that teams, what they've done is to make themselves look sustainable, is that they've paid high transfer fees for players. So they'll pay top dollar for Neymar to come in. But what they'll do is give him a long-term contract, 5 years, then amortize that figure over the 5 years. So what it does is that it balances the books on paper. But what have you done? You've had a huge outlay up front. So those sort of games and tricks that teams were playing cease to be a factor if you make an adjustment like the one you're pointing out. That certainly is the way to go.
Now, this saga isn't over yet, as UEFA could potentially appeal this ruling by the Court of Arbitration for Sport with the Swiss Federal Tribunal. But the thought out there is that it's unlikely to be overturned. Now, let's just remind you of the UEFA Champions League quarterfinal draw that was made on Friday. Man City still have to get over Real Madrid, or is it Real Madrid still have to overcome Man City? The winner of that tie will face Juventus or Lyon, which is another tie which is very evenly balanced at the moment. Red Bull Leipzig, they take on Atletico Madrid in the quarterfinals. The winner between Barcelona and Napoli will take on the winner between Bayern and Chelsea. Bayern with 1 foot in this quarterfinals already. And then in the other quarterfinal setup, it's Atalanta taking on PSG. Alois, I want to hear your quick thoughts on this one. Atalanta taking on PSG. PSG, great opportunity this one to get to the semi-finals, a stage that they've never been in the modern version of the UEFA Champions League. But they'll have to overcome a very good Atalanta side.
Yeah, Mike, when you look at the teams that are left in the Champions League, I think Atlanta was one of the lesser known and one of the weaker, Shona, Tinoti and Shiri. No, one of the Shiri. But not exactly when you actually start watching Atlanta play. When you watch them play, you can actually see that they're actually a very formidable side and they can actually cause an upset. So while they might just look like the weakest team, one of the weakest teams in the remaining in the Champions League, they are just not as weak as they are on paper. They play good football, they score a lot of goals, and that is what PSG are going to be very aware of. But looking at PSG, they haven't done well in the Champions League when you look at the money that they've spent, the investment that they've put in. But I think that when you look now, this is a perfect opportunity for them to go in. and win this one all the way, or probably the furthest that they can go now. I think this is the opportunity because the draw has been very favorable to them, and I think this actually might just be the year that they can go furthest because they have invested, guys. They need to recoup some of their investment back.
And Chris, potentially Barcelona versus Bayern Munich. What a game we've got in store for the quarterfinals.
Definitely. And taking a look at that particular game, I think Bayern Munich definitely have something to prove. Are they just good in Germany, or can they actually do the business and win on the continent? Barcelona as well, possibly not going to be able to win the Liga this season, but if they do manage to get further along in the Champions League and possibly win the Champions League, I think that will be some redemption for them as well.
Over to England, where Mikel Arteta was left to rue Arsenal's 2-1 defeat to Tottenham, claiming the game was ours, while Jose Mourinho has set his sights on Europa League. Arsenal were unbeaten in 5 games heading into Sunday's North London derby and dominated possession, seeing 62.9% of the ball and taking the lead with a thunderous Alexander Lacazette strike in the 16th minute. But Tottenham took advantage of some sloppy Arsenal defending, and a few minutes later, as Heung-min Son slotted home before a late Toby Alderweireld header handed the hosts all 3 points. Arteta was unhappy with the way Arsenal conceded in the North London derby, with goals coming from a defensive lapse and a set piece.
I'm really proud of the players to play the way we played in this round. I've never seen them before dominated the opponent and nullify them as much as I've seen today, but we give them a goal again and we concede a set piece, and at that level you cannot do it. The game was ours, and after the first goal, the game was ours. We had total control. We didn't generate anything. Every time we pressed in the ball, they could not come out, regain the ball after ball. It's difficult to attack a low block like this all the time, but we generated enough chances. And again, the small details cost us, and that's one of the biggest parts that we have to improve as a team. We will keep trying to improve and coach them and get that out of their head as much as possible, but it happened today, and when it happens in big games, normally the margin is not that big to win games.
Alois, you got to say the man's got a point, because in truth, Arsenal handed goals to the Tottenham side that didn't do much to deserve the goals that they got. Everything pointed to Arsenal taking a victory in this one.
Yeah, exactly, Barry. When you look at the situation, we spoke about it, that the Spurs are not playing good football at all. This was a gifted 3 points for me, and it was Arsenal that decided that they didn't want to win this match. They didn't want these 3 points, and they gave them away. And I stand with Arteta there. I'm sure he's as disappointed as I was, because, when you look at the situation whereby you have a match that you're supposed to win and you just end up losing the match, it's very disappointing. And for Arsenal fans as well, I saw it on social media. They were crying, it was a disappointing defeat for them. Because it was also a London derby and they badly wanted to win this one. But unfortunately, those defensive lapses, like Arteta said, cost Arsenal the match. And I don't support Arsenal, but I was not happy with their loss, honestly.
Yeah, football needs to win at all times, and the fact that it was a derby sort of makes it a bitter pill to swallow. But added to that, there was something definitely on the line, because the victory lifts Spurs above Arsenal into 8th on the table, while Arsenal dropped to 9th. 2 points adrift from their rivals with 3 games remaining. Jose Mourinho is a happy man. He says his side managed the game against Arsenal very well and were not troubled in their 2-1 North London derby win.
I think the game was close. I think it was over that hit the post. We had also a fantastic shot from Ben on the post, a couple of chances. I think the game was more tactical than other thing. To be honest, I think Mikel found a way for them to play and to be stable and to improve. They are improving. And we felt that we should adapt slightly to them. And I think we did it very well, because how many times Tierney and Bellerin, they reach normally the last third, and how well they were controlled today. I think we were very dominant at that level. And even in the first period of the second half, where they had more of the ball and they were more in our half, we were quite quite comfortable in that situation. I think also the two midfielders, they did a great job. And then we found our chances, and great spirit, really hot. I think during the game nobody thought about it, even myself, I didn't. But Arsenal had 48 hours more than us to rest. So it was hard, but I think come from their hearts, this effort, this battle, and even the last minutes of the game after 2-1, zero problems, everything under control. So we are happy. We are happy because we made the fans happy. We are happy because we are still in the fight to an Europa League position.
Now, Mike, man can be happy, old Jose Mourinho, but you think to yourself, he'll be happy with the victory, but in truth, the better side on the balance of play lost the game.
Yeah, he got the result done, and I think that's what we said initially when he was appointed to be Tottenham manager, that I think Tottenham fans must not expect style. They must not expect any panache, any flamboyance, any entertainment. They must just expect a very pragmatic approach to games. Mourinho set out not to lose this game, and by hook or crook, he managed to bag all 3 points at the end. And this was a typical smash and grab from a Jose Mourinho side.
For sure, a typical smash and grab, and one that, look, if we're looking at green shoots and its stark consolation at this stage of the season, Chris, Arsenal fans will be happy with what they've seen so far in terms of the direction the club is going. If they can exercise a bit of patience and get a bit of money in the transfer window, Arsenal could be going somewhere with Arteta.
Definitely, Arsenal could be going somewhere. It's just, I think what's disappointing for Arsenal fans is how incredibly well they'll play in one match and then play a disappointing match like yesterday where they didn't manage to get the results. Did they play well? Yes. But managing to lose that particular game, it was theirs to lose in all honesty, and that's what happened. So I think it's just about continuity right now for Arsenal is what they need to manage to bag that Europa position, and that's what I think they're working for.
European football looking more and more like a bridge too far for Arsenal. However, there were other results in England where Liverpool draw points at Anfield for the first time this season as Burnley fought to a 1-1 draw against the champions. In other news, Raheem Sterling is enjoying his best season in front of goal after his hat-trick inspired Manchester City to a 5-0 victory at Brighton. In a shock result, David McGoldrick broke his Premier League duck with 2 goals as Sheffield United entered Champions League chasing Chelsea with a 3-0 victory at Bramall Lane. The shock not being the Sheffield United win, because they can bag a win from anyone. It's the 3-0 scoreline. And then Bournemouth kept their survival hopes alive after coming from behind to beat Champions League chasing Leicester 4-1 at the Vitality Stadium. So shocks are plenty over the weekend. Will we see another shock tonight? Because Manchester United takes on Southampton. And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has named an unchanged side for the past 4 games. He says for the 5th consecutive game, he might name the same lineup. Alois, your thoughts on this one?
Yes, this is going to be a very tricky fixture for Manchester United because of Southampton, because they play running football. They run for 90 minutes. But then I agree with Ole that he doesn't need to change his starting lineup. The guys have been delivering, they've been scoring goals, they've been winning matches, and he doesn't need to tamper with the winning formula. But the only downside, like I said, is Southampton. They run for 90 minutes, and I wonder, I'm going to be watching how they're going to be containing Southampton. But I think it's going to be a fixture that they deserve to win. They should win, and they're gunning for the top 4. And Leicester lost, that's a good result for Manchester United. They need to win this one so that they can actually leapfrog into the top 4.
Leicester lost, Chelsea lost, Manchester United win. They are well into those Champions League places, or at least giving themselves a fighting chance. Manchester United versus Southampton tonight.
We wrap up with some updates from the rest of Europe, starting in La Liga, where Lionel Messi has proved he has 20/20 vision by pulling off a stunning feat that's only ever been done by one other footballing great. The Barca master has scored 20 goals and provided 20 assists in a single season, a record once achieved by Arsenal legend Thierry Henry. And the Nou Camp skipper, who's 33, managed to pull off his impressive effort despite missing the first 2 months of the season with injuries. The Argentina playmaker delivered a glorious pass to Arturo Vidal, who thumped home the winning goal in Barcelona's match against Valladolid on Saturday. Your key results from the weekend: Atletico Madrid sealed Champions League qualification by beating Real Betis 1-0 at home on Saturday thanks to a late Diego Costa goal after having a player sent off and seeing 2 goals ruled out following VAR reviews. Tonight's fixtures: Villarreal versus Real Sociedad, Alaves versus Getafe, and Granada takes on Real Madrid.
Over to Italy, where Gianpiero Gasperini was proud of Atalanta after a 2-2 draw with Juventus, but felt his side deserved to win. Atalanta led twice through Duvan Zapata and Ruslan Malinovsky, but Cristiano Ronaldo scored penalties to cancel out both goals, including a 90th minute equalizer in Turin on Saturday. While Gasperini was proud of his team, the Atalanta coach believes they deserved all 3 points. Your key results out of Italy: second place Lazio slumped to a third successive defeat in the title race when they were beaten 2-1 at home by mid-table Sassuolo in a stifling defeat at the Stadio Olimpico. Elsewhere, AC Milan midfielder Frank Kessie scored from a penalty to give Milan a 2-2 draw away to Napoli, sparing the blushes of his goalkeeper Gianluigi Donnarumma, whose mistakes provided the hosts with both their goals.
That's all we have time for, and hopefully you've enjoyed this show. We certainly enjoyed bringing it to you. We're back tomorrow, 5 after 6. Don't miss it. May God richly bless you. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Menande, out.
And it's Messi! It is the cleanest of clean finishes from the best on the planet.
The biggest sports stories.
Liverpool, the champions of Europe, are top of the world.
The biggest interviews.
That such a great spectacle is ruined by such thuggish behavior.
And all the analysis right here.
He's the one player that has the arrogance to think that he can play in any stadium in the world and any pitch in the world in front of any player in the world and take them on.
Every weekday, it's my sport, it's your sport. It's ZiFM Sport on ZiFM Stereo. My station, your station.